Richard Wright by Brianna Webb. Richard Wright was born September 4th, 1908, near Hatchet, Mississippi. When he was 5, his father abandoned him and his younger brother, putting them in the care of their mother and other relatives. By the time he went to Memphis in 1925, he had already moved 20 times. Experiencing extreme poverty caused his education to only go beyond junior high school. Also, the constant experiences of humiliation and hatred from when the South was segregated contributed to Wright's growing sense that the hidden anger of black people was justified and that only by acknowledging and expressing it could they grapple with it. 2 years after moving to Memphis, Wright went to Chicago. Upon moving to Chicago, he took on a couple of odd jobs and ended up joining the WPA Writers Project as a writer of guidebooks and as a director of the Federal Negro Theater. In 1932, Wright began to study the Marx theory and joined the Communist Party. By 1935, he had become the center of a group of African American Chicago writers and started to write fiction. He was influenced by the naturalistic fiction of James T. Farrell. In 1937, Wright moved to New York to write for the New York Writers Project and as a reporter on the Communist Daily Worker. In 1938, he published Uncle Tom's Children. With the 1940 publication of Native Son by the Book of the Month Club, Wright became the most famous African American author of his time. In 1945, after Native Son was published, he turned to autobiography writings such as Black Boy. Many considered this to be his best book, and such writers as Ralph Ellison and James Baldwin took it as a model for their own work in the 1950s and 1960s. Being a communist activist in the early 1940s, Wright became increasingly disillusioned and parted with the party in 1944. In 1946, while visiting France, he was warmly welcomed by leading writers and philosophers. In 1947, he decided to permanently move to the country, where he was perceived as one of the important experimental modernist prose writers and was ranked on the level of Hemingway, Fitzgerald, and Faulkner. Boy leaves home. Big Boy eased to the edge and peeped. He saw a white man with a gun slung over his shoulder running down the slope. Was they gonna search the hill? Lord, there was no way for me to get anywhere now. He was caught. He should have known they'd get me here, and he didn't have a thing, not a thing, to fight with. Yeah, soon as the bloodhounds came, they find me. Lord have mercy, they lynched me right here on the hill. They'd get me and tie me to a stake and burn me alive. Uncle Tom's Children, Big Boy Leaves Home analysis are set in the rural South. The stories center on the lives of black people and their resistance to white racism and physical violence.